Hey everybody, Charlie and I are 2 here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We last left off, we talked to Soseki-san, and we agreed to represent him in court. And here we are, right outside the Old Bailey in the antechamber, waiting to start this case. And we were just talking to Susato over here about the Reaper of the Bailey causing a crowd to arrive. She says that he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now. In fact, until the day before yesterday, which was the court day that we went to. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zykes' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? Is it a murder? I thought the young lady didn't die. That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane is the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Or the fact that we are willing to represent people in their time of need, even when it looks like there is no possible case of a positive outcome. I think that's probably more likely. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive. Well, let's not forget. That was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Exclamation point. Yes, it's true, but I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or even luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikitoba Esquiress. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for a long... Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. I didn't press the next button there. We were interrupted. It's time to go in the courtroom. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Wonder what the jury's going to look like this time. As well as the witnesses. I bet that Jack person will be a witness. I bet it'll be the guy who was in the military. I can't remember his name at this moment. And his wife, who is the maid. They will be called as witnesses. I bet the guy that looked like a Jack that lives on the ground floor, and probably the big chin dude that he ran into, they will probably all be witnesses. I don't know why I found a need to try to guess that beforehand. Let's just go see. All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yeezy? Yes. This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my clients to the last, just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. So are we going to have confidence now and not look like a caged squirrel looking all over the place with a frightened expression on our face when we start? We probably shouldn't. I mean, we should be used to this by now. 20th of February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. 10 a.m. seems a little late to start this. Hey, there's a witness, a juror up there that was a witness to the last case. The banker dude. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Do I have to do the a la carte voice again? I suppose I should. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. It's gonna kill my throat. The defense is ready, my lord. Nah, we're doing the caged squirrel look. The Nipponese are truly a fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. Who is Lord Strongheart? That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. You're pretty arrogant to say that, you racist. With dreamy eyes. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Back to the chalice. Very, very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. Exclamation point indeed. Yeah, that first juror there on the left. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Second use of that word now. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? I find it very difficult to believe that juror number 1 is impartial when he was a witness to the last case that involved both the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney. And he was found to be lying during that case. Like, why would he be here again? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. You are new. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I would appear. And look, you were the same guy that had on the hat before, right? Lady First was his name? Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. You guys are shady. Shady. That's the hat guy, right? And why are you here as a juror? Why would she be selected as a juror? She's too close to the case. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed. You're new. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Why would you think that? Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zykes. Let me drink some water here to do my a la carte voice. Working on my second hour of playing this game, and it's rough on my voice. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with rising power in the Far East. With a rising power. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land. A certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Yeah, you know from experience. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Everybody is racist. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. You do that? How many chalices do you have? Do you have, like, did you go to Costco and buy, like, bulk hallowed chalices and what appears to be Reaper with Scythe wine to pour into it? That's probably blood. And you can't just say forgive the discourtesy and then do whatever you want. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. So, do we not get an opening statement? I really feel that we should get an opening statement. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. All right. You're the witness? How would he be a witness to the crime? Like, I get that he was part of the arresting party, but that was really about all he did. Unless my client said something to him. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? What is that? That's the victim? Why does the victim look like that? Now, as far as we know, she's not dead. The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Okay, so she might not be the one. She might not be involved with, I forget his name. The guy with a cannon in his room. I beg your pardon, Inspector? Thought to be? She must be dead. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. Or maybe she's still unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. How much y'all want to bet that at the most dire time, the most dire point of this whole trial, she's going to come out of the coma and be a surprise witness to her own stabbing? What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. Yes, let's look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. She is, got a lot of horsepower. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Do we know that that's the direction that he came from? Luckily, the young lady's life was spared and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. I feel like we wouldn't have a trial yet if that were the case, I feel like we would wait until either she regained consciousness or she passed away. But also, I don't really know how that would work. But I feel like, let's say that we go ahead and convict this guy, and then she wakes up and she's like, oh no, I fell on a knife, or whatever, or it was somebody else. And then we got to let this guy out of prison. I kind of feel like we should wait. Anyway, being unconscious as she was, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is a case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept documents as evidence if you please. Sorry, I was taking a sip of water. A lot of reading in this game. The case file has been entered into the court record. The file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness. Before we read this, we're going to check this court record out now. All right, what do we got? We got the armband, we got the local map, we got the second handbook receipt. Let's examine this because I don't remember it. Your books, 17... Okay, we found this in his room. We're going to read it anyway. 17 February, 4:45 p.m. Mr. Natsume, sum of 2 shillings is tendered in the receipt of the picture of Monsieur Lecoq, a mill for Gabroreal, and Canterbury yearnings. Sorry about my pronunciation. I learned on phonics many, many years ago, and sometimes that leads you astray, especially with foreign-sounding words to myself, to my native tongue, which would be American English, which I know is a bastardization of English, but hey, that's what I use. So that was your books. So let's look at the streets here. I wish it would highlight where that store is. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We have Meerschaum Street, Calabash Road, and then Briar Road, and then I forgot what this one was. It was like State Street or something. All right, and let's look at the case file. Details. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Location, pavement of Briar Road, east side. East side of Briar Road, yep. Reporting officer is Rolly Beat. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. Just one stab wound? If you're trying to kill somebody, you would probably do more than one unless you made sure that you got like an artery or something, or an organ. If she's stabbed in the back, though, it could be quite easy to puncture a lung. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Was seen running away by the reporting officer. So Rolly Beat says that he saw Natsume run away. Okay, that's all we got for now. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Is that like a pocket knife? So what, like 3 inches maybe? Man, I don't know if you could kill somebody with a single stab to the back with a pocket knife unless you did hit their lung and they had a collapsed lung and that filled with blood and they died that way, but especially someone very plump. You know, I don't think a single stab wound to the back, unless it managed to, to hit a disc in between her vertebrae and get into her spine, which I highly doubt, I don't think a stab wound to the back would cause her to go unconscious. I think something else has caused her to fall comatose, and the knife in the back is kind of like a red herring. Obviously, we got to figure out how it got there. Who knows? Sir, I have that here. Hope you guys don't hear that. It's thunder outside. Thankfully, got my PC hooked up to an uninterrupted power source. Hopefully we don't lose power. Have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. It doesn't look big. It's a pocket knife. It folds up. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. The other thing we have to figure out is how high up her back was she stabbed? And could our short assailant even reach that high? Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife has been entered into the court record. Jackknife. And there just happens to be a guy who looks like a jack who lives on the ground floor. Coincidence? I think not. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume. Let's look at the knife. Let's spin it around. I don't see any features on the outside. No engravings, no carvings. Let's open it up. Ah, the tip is cut off or broken off. If it's broken off, it must be in a bone in her. So maybe the back of her rib cage or scapula. Spine. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip, a small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Miss Usato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. It's a distinct possibility if a bone was hit. No. Open that back up. Let's look at... Is that it? Is that all we can look at? Make sure there's nothing on the other side. Alright, I think we're done. Tip's broken off of the knife. Motive. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. So yeah, what is your motive? I see, well in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say, so you guys don't have a motive. Apart from visiting secondhand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yet you are putting him on trial for attempted murder?
Yes!
If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way. I agree on that.
Objection!
I like how his objection is written in Old English. Did he just... I love Lord Van Zykes. He is my most favorite character out of all of this. His drama is just great. Van Zykes, pray forgive the discourtesy. Yeah, just forgive the discourtesy of whatever you do. You can just do whatever you want as long as you say that. Forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. What if you had injured somebody? We'd have to put you on trial. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. In the slow point, I love that. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good I'm not reading that in the right voice. Let me back that up. Yep. Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. With your weird upside down salute. Witness testimony. All right, here's where we got to pick it apart. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. The crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. A photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. Now, we've seen this image, not exactly described as a photograph, but this image is flashed up to us when we were talking to Mr. Natsume. Now we're going to inspect it. Not going to read that yet, because we are going to check out this photo. That is not a photo. I didn't go far enough over. Here we go. Alright, so the knife. Is that the same knife? It certainly looks like it. There are 1, 2, 3 rivets in it with a brass bottom. Let's go back. I want to compare it to the knife we have. 1, 2, 3 brass bottom. This isn't the same knife. Look here. See this whole brass section on the top here? Look when we fold it out. If this is her back, right? There should be this whole brass section here. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4 rivets, right? 2 large, one with a brass cap here, and one with a brass cap here at the bottom of the hilt. Then there should be this one here. I'm assuming this one holds the blade or the handle together, and then this one here. This is a knife that opens and closes, because right here is the, look at it, the hinge. I gotta hit here. The hinge on which the knife opens and closes. But if we look here, that's not the same knife. It looks very similar, but this one doesn't have that rivet here. It doesn't even look like it opens and closes. This one may just be like a steak knife. So Scotland Yard has given us wrong evidence if they said this is the knife that they took out, because that is not the knife they took out. Okay, another thing we want to look at is this purse. Doesn't look like it was open because it's still clasped together with a button, which means that nothing was stolen from her purse. There are 3 books here. Those are probably the 3 books that he bought. She has a hat on. She's wearing a green outfit, pink shoes. She could very well be stabbed in the spine. I mean, that is like right in the center there. But once again, this looks like a different knife. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Sykes, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Nusato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume had admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had happened, what had all happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. Maybe it was thrown? Could have been thrown. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. And there's juror number 1. We recognize him. Are they just reusing assets, or is there a reason we're seeing this particular juror? Who knows? We'll have to find out next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or a subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.